Hey, friends. It's me, Sean, the Tech MBA dad. And I realized I hadn't recorded a video in months, which is a little strange for me because my OCD is such that I normally stick to a schedule, but a lot's been happening. And so I had to pull back on making videos. I was getting a little into the weeds with editing and prepping and optimizing the YouTube videos. So you might be asking, what other stuff has been going on? Have you seen the news? I am speechless a lot of times, and I'm also somewhat paralyzed, which is unusual for me because I've been seeing this gradual decline into a very unhealthy and toxic and frankly dangerous environment that those of us living in the United States have been dealing with. And I had to make some changes for my mental health. And you might say I'm putting my head in the sand, but you got to do what you got to do. The fact is, though, even when I've got a hairpin curve here, this one is tricky. I'm going down a mountain to visit my mom at assisted living. Even when you bury your head in the sand, that doesn't change what's happening outside your bubble. And I'm going to share a little story. The first wake up call I had that things are not normal. My son, he's now 13. Back when he was about 7 for school, he had to do a class project. And the class project was every kid had to bring in a picture of themselves and then write about themselves. It was basically, this is me. And my son shared his, and we have it framed in the house. Maybe I'll put a, a screenshot of it if I am organized enough. No promises. But my son had said, this is me. I'm this, I'm that. I like this, I like that. And they were all relatively expected things. If you knew my son, you would say, yep, that's him. Yep, yep, yep. Loves sports, loves video games, loves this regular kid stuff. And toward the end, he wrote, I cry at school shooting drills. And that really shocked me. I had heard about the school shooting drills that are now standard in American schools, American public schools. And obviously, it's a byproduct of I call it gun sickness we have in this country, but it's traumatizing the children. I mean, children are getting murdered, but even the children that are not getting murdered are getting traumatized by having to prepare for the possibility of being murdered in school. So I didn't really know what to do when I saw that, but it hurt me as a parent that this is something your child is dealing with. And that was, like I said, 6 years ago. But that was a wake up call. That was the first inclination that things are not right here. And they're getting more and more dysfunctional, sad to say. And it's not because of any one person. It's really a systemic issue. I don't want to go into a long diatribe about the issues we have. That was a wake up call. My son's traumatized at school shooting drills. I wonder how many other children are that didn't write it down on a piece of paper so their parents could see it. How many children are suffering in silence. School never notified me. It would have been nice to have heard from the teacher about that. Could have had a discussion, but that stuck in my mind as a data point that got to do something. What do you do? We're very fortunate. We live in New Jersey. For all the things one can say about New Jersey, it's actually a really nice place to live. And yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, the taxes are high, but it's extremely safe. And it also has among the toughest gun laws in the country, which are not tough at all. It's a relatively safe state from that perspective. But who wants to live in a place where people are collateral damage for the perceived rights of folks that have what I call gun sickness, where they basically have fetishized and worship guns as a symbol? Not me. So fast forward a few years later, and I'm at an age where I have to start mapping out the next stage of my life. I'm almost 60 now, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around, but retirement is a thing I think about. And when I look at other folks in the community and friends that are retired and the lifestyles they lead and how things are done in this country, it's not appealing to me. I'll just say that. My mom's in assisted living. That whole process of getting her out of her senior apartment into the assisted living took a few years. And I learned a few things about the American system of care for people as they age. And it put a bad taste in my mouth. It really did. I'm just going to summarize my observation of how the system works. But in a nutshell, when you start working here, you keep hearing you need to save for retirement. And so a lot of people don't save for retirement, but those of us that do save for retirement put money away and we save for retirement, and then we retire and we live off that money. And if you've done a good job, you've got enough money to live on plus Social Security until you die, right? But what they don't tell you is as you age and as you need more care, you need to pay more and more money for that help out of your own pocket to the point where you have nothing left. And then you'll get some help to pay for these very expensive services. So that's what I saw with my mom, right? She had a little bit of money saved. She had to spend it all out of pocket. And at one point she was spending over $7,000 a month out of her own savings just for her spot in this assisted living facility. And then when you run out of money, then the state will come in and help you and help pay for that. And they don't pay 100%. They're going to pay whatever you can't pay. Basically, your entire Social Security or pension goes to the assisted living place, except for that $100. And then the government will pay the rest of it, which to me is problematic on multiple levels. So that was a wake up call. Just how the system is designed to get you to save a lot of money. And then when you actually need help, they'll take all your money first before they help, which is not much of a social safety net. So I think that's the commonality here. The fact that the gun violence issue is getting worse and worse and worse to the point where people don't even hear about them anymore. Every day there's a mass shooting. The definition of a mass shooting is a shooting where more than 4 people are shot, right? The fact that nothing's being done to help stop that issue. The obvious solution is gun control, common sense laws around gun control. I I tell people this all the time. I have a ham radio operator license. To be able to use the ham radio, you need a license. You need to study, you need to take a test. There's multiple levels and you get privileges. Took me a couple of years to get to the top level, but it was a process. You pay your money to the government, you get a license. I'm licensed. We don't do that for guns. Oh no. A ham radio is more dangerous than guns, which is why I needed to do more to get a ham radio license than every Tom, Dick, and Harry has to do to get a gun. So the fact that the government is not responding appropriately to the gun problem is what I would say is a lapse in the social safety net, a huge one. I mean, it's a tragic one. And then the way there's no public health care and no help for seniors and the disabled, or very limited help. I mean, my mom's deaf. Both of my parents were deaf. So at a very early age, I saw how social services worked around the disabled, and great people working in a very underfunded system. The folks that I met over the years who helped the deaf and other disabled are doing it because they want to help others. They're definitely not doing it for the money. And they're not doing it for the status. We really need to bolster that part of the social safety net. So many issues, but the fact is, you don't really hear about that in school, right? In school, the propaganda is America is the best country in the world. We're number one. We do everything right. Don't question it. We're going to withhold books that don't support the myth or the propaganda that America is the best country. As you get older, you start to see the inconsistencies and the blatant misrepresentation of the history of this country. And unfortunately, the lack of media literacy here is by design. So you have a whole lot of people that think they're well informed, but they're not informed at all. They're just indoctrinated into a belief system that's by design to keep the system going. So just seeing a lot of problematic areas in day-to-day living here. And what can you do? Well, one thing a lot of people are doing is leaving the country. There's that. And that's an option. It's tough when you have a family. It's tough when you've got a lot of stuff, again, by design to kind of trap you in this environment and in this system. But it's really refreshing to see how many people have taken agency over their lives and decided what we have here is not suitable, that their needs could be better met in other countries, right? It kind of goes against the propaganda that America is the best country in the world. But thanks to social media, people are able to share their day to day and share their opinions, and you get more of a number of varied perspectives from people in different countries saying, hey, this was my story, this was my process, and this is what I'm experiencing here. I'll give you an example. If you listen to our government, Mexico is a dangerous place. It's full of cartels. It's lawless. The border is porous. All of our problems are because of people from south of us coming in and not their best people. All of that, just all of that racist propaganda. But then you see these videos from senior citizens who, this is the recurring theme. 75, I'm single. I didn't save anything for retirement. I wasn't able to. I was struggling. My Social Security is very limited because I did not make a lot of money. My career options were limited. I was trapped and I moved to Mexico and I'm living my best life. I'm living 5 minutes away from the beach. I get my groceries every day and I can live on my Social Security just fine. Thank you. It's very interesting just how many people there are describing something that's not what you would expect based on the propaganda that our government is all too willing to propagate. A lot going on, a lot bouncing around in my head. I know I'm not alone. I'd be curious if you're having similar thoughts. Put them in the comments, please. So, on a more tactical level, in December, we're going to Portugal to check it out. I know it's probably about 5, 10 years too late, but it's interesting. 3 out of 4 of us in the family have Portuguese in our background. So there's a connection there. And same with Spain. We're going to Spain in March to visit friends who were among the tens of thousands of Americans who said, America's broken, not interested in getting fixed. So we're going to pack up and move. So we're visiting friends in Spain who actually did the hard thing of selling a large home and years and years of material things and starting over in another country. We live in a materialistic society, a consumerist society where every day you're encouraged to buy something new, get an upgrade, buy. And when you're in your 20s, you have limited money and so limited space, and therefore you have limited fewer things. But as each decade goes on, you ideally make more money, you accumulate more things to the point where there are a lot of seniors that have houses full of stuff and they don't know what to do. They want to have the freedom to go somewhere, but we are imprisoned by our stuff. So I was very impressed at my friends that were able to overcome that inertia and make it happen. So that trip is in March. So we're going to Portugal in December and then Spain in March, whole family. And we're just going to take a look and see what, is it what we expected? Is it as interesting and safe and appealing as we are led to believe? Stay tuned. I'll definitely share the post trip feedback in a upcoming video. So anyway, enough blabbering. I'm getting on the highway. I don't normally record videos when I'm driving, but I said, just get her done. So here you go. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Be well.